here with us today. In other words, King David is buried, David, like in King David, is buried below, and the upper room is upstairs. And by the way, interestingly, David, like in King David, died and was born on the same date. On the same date. Pentecost. On Feast of Pentecost, according to the Jewish calendar, which is similar to your calendar, but a little off. On Day of Pentecost, this place is packed, jammed, crowded with Jews celebrating and commemorating the birth and death of King David. Interesting. Now, is it historically correct or no? Was David buried here? To begin with, our records, our diaries. Today, of course, everything is recorded and photographed, but traditionally people came with diaries, not with iPhones or cameras. So we have diaries, we have chronicles, we have written material of pilgrims who were here. One pilgrim came here in the 10th century and he recorded this place. He says, here people worship the tomb of David, and he describes exactly what you're going to see now in a minute. But it's only 1,000 years old, our records. David was born and died roughly 3,000 years ago. So we have a gap. Every Orthodox synagogue, the Reformed synagogues usually mix men and women.
Yair was telling us just there was that's the tradition, and it's true to the tradition. Is it true to history? We don't know, but it's true to that. And so at different times when you say is it true, I think you have to figure out what you mean exactly. Like the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the Bible doesn't say this has to be the place that it is, but it is the traditional place, and historically you can make a good case that it's the place. So that's just one way to think about these things as we go through.
Probably by Ezekiah, King Ezekiah, to protect the city from the Assyrian invasion. The wall obviously continues either direction. If you look here where I'm standing, they made outlines. Here you see the red line redesigned by the Crusaders, and look at these shops, originally Crusader shops, but now they're modern ones. So remember we said the Romans had a standard way to structure a city, to build a city, with the two main bisecting, remember? Cardo, and the other one was called Decumanus. And they met at the meeting point. It was called Tetrapilon. It still exists, interestingly. Okay, so here again, it's a window. Until a few years ago, this was covered. The opening and closing of the church daily is very ceremonial. There is a Muslim family who owns the keys to the church. Why? Because the different denominations used to go to this sovereign, the Turkish sovereign, and complain about each other. So the Turk, okay, we'll give the keys to the church to a Muslim family. This way there will be no, supposedly, if a Muslim hold it, the Christians won't argue. I mean, it's like supposedly the Muslim will be unbiased.
Надо сделать святыни. В этом камне, который мироточит, мы освящаем наши вещи на камне миропомазания.
Okay.
Теперь
we're going to walk around and form a circle and come back here, point out different things, and you'll come back. So just keep walking inside, make a left. again by 4 denominations own this part. The back side, the back door of the church, of the tomb, I'm sorry, is owned by another denomination, by the Coptic. Remember, there's 5 here and 1 on the rooftop. The traditional actual tomb is inside in the inner chamber. In the inner chamber inside. In the inner chamber inside. In the first chamber you see a column there, like a chalice, a big chalice, a big column. There's a piece of the rolling stone there. See the column here in front? Okay. The inner chamber is where the body. Where is the rock where it was placed? The rock is gone. Imagine in the course of history, the stone was chiseled away. Imagine millions of pilgrims coming here. So of course there is no stone, but there was a rock here. This was outside the city limits then, remember? Okay. This is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre versus the Garden Tomb. Okay, this is the Holy Sepulchre versus the Garden Tomb. Okay. We are going to see the back end of this opening here. Okay, the back end. We are not going in here. We're going to, and then the bodies were laid inside. The door was shut, and so on. So the tomb we saw there was very similar to this one. That one's gone. So if anybody wants to have a look, go inside, please.
There could be multiple bodies in there.
There are multiple. You're going to see niches for different bodies. Okay, and this was owned by a wealthy person, maybe Joseph of Arimathea. Joseph. Alright? And then so here we can clearly see and understand the topography of Jerusalem in view of the valleys. I'm facing now the southern wall of the temple, correct? The southern wall of the temple, the main entranceway, the main gateways to the temple. Probably a million people. Different chronicles say different numbers, entered the temple. When? On the 3 main Jews were